And in this video, I'm gonna share 5 common ways women push men away in love. Hi ladies, Matt Shaffer, your empowerment, connection, and relationship coach. I'm a former attorney who's committed his life to supporting you in creating this sort of fun, fulfilling, dynamic connections and relationships with men that you are so worthy of and that I know you want. Because guess what? Men want them too. So let's dive into this because there are so many ways that I have seen women, clients, and students that I work with all over the world. They want an amazing relationship and they're going through so much effort to try to go out there and get that relationship, but then they end up sabotaging it, right? Because they have underlying things happening beneath the surface that lead to the relationship just sort of falling apart. So I'm gonna dig into the 5 most common patterns I see around this with my clients and students and just women in my life, right? But before we do that, take a second, hit that little subscribe button, and don't forget to click that link in the comments and caption. I have created some great training that's gonna make a huge difference in your connections and relationships with men. And please let us know in the comments what have been your most common ways that you've sabotaged relationships up until now, of course. And our first and probably the most common way that I see women sabotage or undermine their relationships with men is to make their happiness his responsibility, right? So what does this look like? It looks like you put all your eggs in his basket. And again, men do this too, right? We need to look out for this on both sides. But when you basically make him the sole person responsible for making you happy or not, which means that you're not out there doing things for yourself. You sort of lose track of your own hobbies, you lose track of your own passions, and suddenly this person in the relationship the two of you have created together becomes your sole main focus of your life, and you sort of lose yourself in that relationship. Let me tell you from personal experience and from working with lots of ladies around the world, it does not work. It's not a sustainable way to build relationship because it's very pressurized. It creates a ton of pressure for the men in your life. And what it actually ends up making a man feel is it makes him feel like the relationship is work. That making you happy is just sort of another job that he has to continually be stepping into all the time. And ladies, if a man starts to feel like the relationship is work, then the relationship has become the exact opposite of what you're wanting it to be energetically. You want your relationship with a man to be free and spontaneous and fun and light and playful, not another job. So how do we avoid this? Well, as I said a minute ago, by maintaining our own life, by maintaining our own friendships and hobbies and all the things that may give us that sense of happiness and fulfillment and independence, you're not going to sacrifice all those just because you get into a relationship. You're going to bring your relationship into your pre-existing life, right? And maintain your own identity in your own frame. And then that's going to really help him too, because it's going to give him this permission, right, to do the same thing, to maintain his own life and his own freedom and his own friendships and relationship. And then the two of you come together as two complete beings, right? Rather than two incomplete people that are trying to complete each other. Because guess what that is, y'all? That's codependence. And that is not healthy, and it doesn't lead to the sort of like dynamic, sustained relationships that you're looking for. And the second way women push men away in relationship is by projecting their trauma onto him. And so what do I mean by that? And here's the thing. I understand that both men and women, we both come into the relational container with our past, right? Our past is a part of us. And we've all got trauma, right? But the mistake I see women making time and time again is they view and evaluate their new partner and everything he's saying and doing through the lens of their trauma, through trauma-colored glasses. So, for example, if he shows up 3 minutes late to a date, they get super triggered and activated by that because their last boyfriend was chronically late all the time, and they end up blasting him because of that past trauma, which then leads to him feeling like he's not being seen and like he's not being appreciated for who he is. And he's being attacked for no reason or for a way overkill, right? For the degree of what actually happened. And so when women just steadily project their trauma and just blast their triggers onto their partner over time, it's going to end up with him sort of pulling away and checking out of the relationship because he feels like he can't do anything right and like you're not seeing the real him. So how do we stop doing this? We stop doing this by learning to identify what our triggers are, by really starting to pinpoint what our wounds are, right? And how we tend to apply them to new men and new relationships. And just whenever we feel those triggers coming up, whenever we feel those wounds coming up, whenever we feel like we're about to project onto our partner, we want to consciously either remove ourselves from the situation or just tell our partner that we're feeling triggered. This is where it's coming from. It's not about them, right? So don't be offended. Don't take this personally, but it's really healthy to sort of remove yourself from that situation and don't let your triggers or your wounds get all over your partner. But if you're able to share them with him in a calm manner, it's going to give you an opportunity for the two of you to really work through and help heal them, right? So that you don't feel that need to project your wounds onto him anymore. And the third way women push men away in relationship is by not taking the time to learn how he receives and expresses acknowledgement. And this is so common. We have this tendency, right, to assume that our partner wants to be acknowledged and touched the same way that we do. We just assume that our partner has the same love languages that we do, when in reality, a lot of times, our partner has very different needs, very different emotional needs, very different physical needs than we do. And when we go into a relationship and conduct ourselves in a relationship, assuming that our partner is the same as we are, what are we doing? We're setting ourselves up for disappointment, right? Because our partner is going to be different from us. And if we just keep treating that person like we would like to be treated without taking the time to understand them as an individual and their specific unique needs, we're going to end up letting them down, and then they're going to end up letting us down because it just doesn't work. There's like a complete lack of connection and communication there, right? So take the time to learn your partner's love languages, to learn how he likes to be touched. And how do you do that? By asking him questions, right? If you want to know what he likes in bed, ask him questions. Be open with him about what your needs are, and create this open dialogue with him around how y'all like to give and receive communication, acknowledgement, affection, feedback, all of this great stuff. And that's going to keep you two from pushing each other apart, and instead it's going to bring you closer together. And the fourth way women push men away in relationship is by being reactive to them and being reactive to situations involving them. So what does that mean? Well, in any situation that you encounter, both in your relationship or your connection with a guy, or just generally in the world, you always have two choices: to respond or to react. And that one choice, because when we're reacting, right, we're reacting from our emotions. So like we talked earlier about triggers and projecting, right? The way that we respond to our triggers, if we respond to them by reacting, then what are we doing? We are exploding our trigger and projecting our wounds onto our partner, which then sabotages the relationship. So anytime you're in a situation with him, regardless of whether he's done something really wrong or not, if you become emotionally reactive with him and start becoming very aggressive towards him and belittle him or just attack him, you're going to run the risk of really shutting him down and activating what's known as his mama trauma, right? Because almost every man that I've ever known has a really core wound around his mother, where one of the most traumatic experiences we had growing up was our moms being mad at us. So, if you come at him with a very aggressive emotional energy, then you're going to run the risk of activating his mama trauma and shutting him down. So instead of choosing to be reactive, right, and reacting to him emotionally for whatever he did, you can make a conscious choice to respond. To respond from what your intention is for the relationship that you want to have with him. So if you say you want to have a relationship of partnership, of love, of warmth with him, you will respond to him being super late for a date or forgetting your birthday or something like that. You're going to respond with patience, with compassion. You're going to come into that conversation with an energy of partnership, right? And give him a chance to explain his side of it and make it up to you. And do you see how that's going to create a much more stable basis for building a relationship than being reactive? Because here's the thing, when you're reactive to him, let me just tell you, you're going to be inviting him to be reactive back at you, and then it just creates an escalation that does not result in a constructive resolution to the conflict. And the last, and one of the biggest ways that women push men away in a relationship is by not being their authentic selves with the man that they like. Okay? And this is such a common thing, and I understand why women do it, right? Because when you first meet somebody new, of course you have this impulse, right? To sort of just be whoever you get to be for him to really like you. So you want to be interested in everything he's interested in, and you want to go along with everything he says, and you want to laugh at every one of his jokes, and you want to present yourself in this perfect polished way just to make sure that he likes you because you really want to be liked by him. And I get it and I understand it. But here's the thing. A man does not want that perfect polished version of you that's pretzeling, bending yourself around everything that he's into and that he wants, right? A man wants to see and feel the truth of who you are. A man wants to feel the differences between the two of you. He wants to feel the weight of your own frame, of your own passions, of your own interests. He wants to see that raw, sort of sensual version of you, right? Because that's what a man is craving. A man is craving your truth, to see it, to feel it, to experience it. And if you present yourself as something that isn't that in the early stages of getting to know him, and he sort of falls in love with that, right? Thinking that that's your truth. And then you sort of, after a little while, relax and you're like, okay, whew, I guess now I can, fart in front of him and like be my normal self with him. And you just sort of like let your guard down and you become this completely different person. Guess what? He's going to be like, well, who is this person? This is different than the person that I was first getting to know, and now she's this totally different person. He's gonna maybe feel like it was a little bit of a bait and switch, right? And it's happened to me before where I've started to get to know somebody, and then within a couple months, they start acting and treating me like a completely different person, right? Because they feel like they've put enough time in that they can shift into their normal self. And even if that person is great, that person isn't the person that I initially met and got to know. So you're not doing anyone any favors, right? By presenting this polished, like completely different version of yourself to a man that you want to get to know. You get to make a choice to show up unapologetically in ownership of who you are and present your best authentic self to a man that you're looking to get to know. And one of the best check-in questions you can give yourself during that process, the early stages of getting to know somebody, is to ask yourself, would my friends and family recognize me right now? Would the people closest to me recognize who I'm being right now? And if the answer is no, take a minute and recalibrate and adjust, because you don't want a man to fall in love with who you're not, right? You want a man to fall for who you are. And if you do anything other than that, you're actually pushing away, a man who might truly care about you, or you're wasting time with a man who's just taking up space, right? If a man doesn't like who you are authentically, that man gets to go, which is then going to free up room for another man to come in who truly sees and honors and cherishes the real you. So ladies, remember these 5 common ways that women push men away. And if you've been guilty of any one or more of them, don't worry, it's fine. But let's take the time to identify maybe the ones that we use in pattern in relationships and consciously release them so we can stop wasting time in relationships that don't go anywhere. And to review, those 5 are: number 1, making your happiness his responsibility. Remember, no man wants a relationship to feel like his job. So maintain your own friends, your own passions, your own hobbies, your own life, and bring him into that life as a partner, right? You two are two full and complete beings coming together in partnership, not completing each other in codependency. And number 2, projecting your trauma onto him. This is super common. Leave the past in the past. And I'm not saying that you're not going to be learning from the people that have hurt you in the past, but don't assume that just because you've made a parallel or a connection, right, between your partner's behavior and the wounds of your past, don't just assume that he is that past person, because he's not. He's a unique person, and be vulnerable with him about your triggers, be in ownership of your triggers, and give yourself a chance to heal it together. Because that's very, very possible if you're both vulnerable and open to that. And the third way women push men away is by not taking the time to learn how they receive acknowledgement, not speaking to them through their love languages, not giving them physical touch, which is very commonly what a man is craving from you, right? Not holding space for him in a meaningful way. Like, you really want to take the time by asking questions and really figuring out, what would you like me to do? How would you like me to show up in a way that's really going to land for you and be meaningful for you? And that goes both ways. You're going to want to share with him your needs around that too. That way you two can both truly make each other happy. And the fourth common way that women push men away is by being reactive towards them with any situation that comes up, right? So what does it mean to be reactive? It means that you're reacting emotionally without a lot of thought, without a lot of control, and without any sort of conscious intention. You know, it's just an emotional reaction. He does something and you come over the top, and a lot of times you're aggressive with him in a reactive way. And when you do that, remember, you're going to activate his mama trauma. You're going to get him to shut down, or for him to be reactive back to you, which is going to escalate the situation. So instead of doing that, you get to respond. You get to respond from your intention for the sort of relationship you want, the sort of partnership you want, the sort of calm, constructive, loving connection that you're looking to build with him. So no matter what he does, how can you respond consciously rather than react emotionally? And the last and most common way that women push men away in relationship is by not showing up as their authentic selves, by trying to be too polished, too perfect, or to pretzel around what they think a man wants to see and experience from them, instead of understanding that fundamental truth that we are craving your deepest, most authentic expression. We want to know that rough, sensual, unapologetic ownership, right? That is so sexy. It's so high value to us when a woman shows up as who she is without any attachment to how she's received by us. That is extremely hot and extremely magnetic, and I invite you to do it with every man that you go out there and date. So I hope that these 5 things resonated with you, and I hope that you take them out there and you use them to identify your own patterns and to stop pushing men away if any one of them seems like it fits you, right? But before you do that, take a second, hit that little subscribe button, click the little bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video, and don't forget to click the link in the comments and caption. I have created some awesome training that's going to make a huge difference in your connections and relationships with men. And for all of you, sound off in the comments. Let us know, what's been the most common thing that you've done to push men away, and what are you committed to doing to change it moving forward? Because you are worthy of an amazing, loving relationship. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.